Okay, so I am really, really thrilled that one of my last people to talk to about boundaries, and Jane Hardwick Collins, is going to be potentially the last person I speak to about boundaries. I'm really thrilled to have Myriam here joining me, and I spent a year with Myriam, and Myriam spent a year with me and with Jane in England a couple of years ago. And we just had, well, I had the most amazing year with you and feel so woven, and so many things happened that I just feel so linked with you and all of the other women from our circle. And I mentioned in the video that we tried to make a moment ago as we went live that I often see your face in visions and in journeys. And it often represents to me an aspect of the dark goddess. And you appeared in my mind as I birthed my daughter last year. So
that was
powerful, powerful moment. So Myriam might tell you hopefully a little bit about her work that she does in the world and her amazing pottery that she makes, and sculptures that you've just started making bigger work, I think, over the last year, haven't you? And also the circles that she runs. And are you still vision questing too? Can you tell us a bit about what you're doing in the world?
Well, the first thing I do is breathe. I always say that because it's like, I consider myself, well, not I consider myself, I am a spirit in a human form that came into this world in this moment to live an experience and to share who I am. And in that process, you know, peeling layers and layers of the experiences of life that have conditioned me in a way, in a certain way. So I've been, and the year we spent together was really important in that, to anchor really aspects of my true self. You know? And I studied photography. I always knew I wanted to be a photographer since a little girl, but because that mysterious black box would take me to invisible places and would give me the possibility to bring in the unseen to the seen in a way. So photography for me was the catalyzer of my inner journey. And from there, it became a journey of self-discovery, actually, that led me to, well, photography and also other experiences. But I realized that I had something that I could share and inspire people with what I did. That from the feedback was really special. So I kept on doing that. And then one day, an astrologer friend, he asked me if I wasn't drawn to ceramics, like to working with my hands. And I love ceramics, but would have never, ever thought of that at all. It was like nothing in my mind. But then he died, and I was living in a town close to a place where ceramics was really important. So I decided to honor him and start going to class there. And the first time I touched clay was like, wow, like I've done this before. Like this is natural to me. And I feel so comfortable and so inspired with this. And I kind of left photography a little bit and started doing pottery. And it led me in another journey of putting together many things, like supporting other women, and through doing the artwork and making pieces, like the artistic process is like a birth process. So I find that really, really interesting and beautiful. So I really love showing other women how to do their pieces, but also supporting them in the process of birthing whatever they want to birth. Right? So that's one of the things that I do. I also do the women's circles, and this, I don't call them vision quests because that's from Native Americans and it's their thing. But when I got this land, it just came to me like, this is something that you have to do, you know. And with all the fear and all the insecurity, I pushed through my resistance and all my resistance and all my resistance. And yes, I do that, but I do it in a very intimate way, almost one-on-one. It's best for me because it's something really deep and really powerful. And I really like to, you know, give all my energy to support that person and not more women, but that's my thing. That's my way. And just now I started doing ceramics workshops and things. I'm after this last year of the COVID and everything, I kind of let it go, everything, and said, okay, what comes easily and without me having to push through is what needs to be done for me. And it's coming and I'm doing it and always open to change, you know, whatever other thing needs to come through. I'm open, you know. Yeah.
Gorgeous. And some of the people that watch this might recognize you from, I've used your video, your film, Red Path, in my Sacred Cycles work. So women doing that might have watched that. And so this is Myriam that created that beautiful film. As well. So so I'm going to dive in so that we don't overrun into your time too much, Myriam. But so I'm talking about boundaries to women that came to mind when I was thinking about people I think about when I think about boundaries and potentially having good boundaries or strong boundaries or I'm not sure that's the phrase for you, so I'm really interested to see what you have to say about it. But I created this course because it's one of the biggest things for me. It's been one of the biggest journeys for me in the world, with people, with relationships, with my body, and with spiritual work as well, and then reflecting completely each other. And when I came to learn more about boundaries, I started to feel good, started to feel more myself, and really deepen my processes so much more. So, and then I noticed as well with most of my clients that boundaries are the thing with them as well, that if we move out of the spiritual realm, this is the thing that's going to be most helpful for them in the world and in their relationships, and as well reflecting that into their spiritual realm, because it's all one and the same, of course. So I created this course for them and for me, and for anyone that feels that boundaries is calling to them, and if they're getting a big poke from their spirit guides going, you know, this is definitely something you need to do. And, you know, it just shows up in our lives, doesn't it, when we need to do it and we get tripped up by things. And, oh, that's because that's the work we need to do. So, so I want to ask you, as I've asked the other women, about your take on it, because everyone has a different idea and different ideas about it. So there's going to be little beautiful bits of wisdom coming from you, as there has been from all of the other women that I've asked, and different angles as well. So I'm really excited and interested to hear your take on this. So the first question I was going to ask you are, what are boundaries to you?
Mm-hmm. Well, boundaries to me are vibration in the first place. Boundaries are invisible. If not, we're not talking about mountains or walls or, you know, physical boundaries, but boundaries in the way we're speaking to me is vibration and is energy, and where these two vibrations collide, you know, that you don't feel comfortable with, or you feel an invasion of, then you have to make clear, like you have to bring them into the physical form with your words or your actions by saying to here, you know. And it doesn't have to be specific like to here, it can be also with your action and the way you position yourself, right? So for me, boundaries are always existing. They're there. I mean, we all have our conscious or unconscious boundaries. Some people don't have any boundaries, and some people have too many boundaries. You know, it has to do with our life experience and the traumas we've had or we hadn't had, or how we have navigated the situations in our lives that were more complicated.
Yeah, great.
So yeah.
Great. So when I mentioned boundaries to you first, was there any particular relationships that sprung to mind when you start thinking about those personal boundaries?
Yeah, like for me, one of the biggest, like one of the person that has made me work more on boundaries is my ex-partner, who was my older daughter's father. And he was a master for me on setting boundaries. And because I really realized that I didn't have any, like I had so much need for love that I would do anything, and that would be not respect my own boundaries and not be aware of, you know, how the energy of the other person was affecting me. So yeah, when someone tells me about boundaries, he pops up right away, like that person was the one. And still, like yesterday, I'm not going to go into personal stuff, but there was an issue that has been going on for 4 years, and it ended yesterday. And I had to be really sure of the boundaries I set it 4 years ago. And like, okay, are this, you know, it's like, it's kind of like the end of the work, you know. And yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah.
And you mentioned to me earlier about your dogs. Would you like to talk a little bit about your dogs and how what they've taught you about boundaries? I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because my dream was to have like wild wolves. I don't know, like women want to have babies and I wanted to have wild wolves, you know? It's like, and I have babies and they came and I'm really happy and I hope I'm a good mother and everything. But, you know, if it's something that you want, that was it. So I really wanted that and I let it go. I did a lot of work, and when I didn't care anymore, they came, right? So they are very, you know, they're from the pack and they always want to be at the top of, you know, the pack. So they will test you and they will see, kind of like children, but in a more wide way, you know, where are your boundaries and where are you setting yourself? Because then I will position myself. It's not that they want to be the you know, the big guys, the nice, I mean, they just want to know where their place is. And once they know, they're so happy, even if it's the last one. But you need to show them where your boundaries are. And Kai, who is the male and came first, I was playing the same old pattern as like, I want you to love me. So I'll do anything for you to love me. And they're wild and they're like, they don't give a shit. It's like, where am I? I want to know where do you position me? Where are you positioned? And it took me months to realize and to, you know, and really position myself, because they will, I mean, they're wild. They can, I mean, they're not going to kill you or anything, but, you know, they're strong and they're big and they can, you know, push the boundaries in a very physical way. So I was amazed on how much, you know, that when you do the work, it becomes more subtle and more subtle and more subtle. And this one was really subtle, you know. And then when I had my lesson learned with him and I positioned myself and we were all happy and ta-da, then the female came and she is more charged with wild wolf than him because they're kind of half. And she was really charged. And still now she's 4 months old. And she's still now, you know, making me work on that. And she's really wild. Like, no, I'm doing what I want, you know. Like, you show me where you are again, but in a stronger way, because otherwise I will show you where I can position myself and you might not like it, you know. So it's really beautiful with animals also to see, because for me they're not pets. I have a relationship with them. They are them and I'm me, and you know, we're all in our place. It's not like you do what I want. It's like, you know, we're a pack, share this place, and you have your needs, I have my needs, but you know, like to show who's the boss. And it's been a challenge for me, and a really beautiful one, because it's what I wanted. I mean, I think in a way the fact that I wanted to have wolves was that I really wanted to work on that.
Yeah.
You know, subconscious way.
Yeah. So this is really interesting in a few different ways, because I've never really heard anyone else say that, but in a really similar way, I've felt the same way about wolfhounds and deerhound dogs, and they're a breed that we have more in the UK, I think, than the rest of the world. It's sort of old hunting dogs, which were bred so they could hunt wolves. But in a very similar way, I've always had this dream, again, more than dreaming of having children. And like you say, I love being a mother as well. But that has always been my dream, of these two big deerhound dogs or wolfhound dogs. So it's really interesting on one level. And yeah, and again, they have not come yet, and it would not be practical, etc., etc. And I've just decided, a bit like you said, that if they are to be, they are to be, and they will come one day. And the other thing that's striking me, and I'm wondering if you have found this, but it's making me think of what I found when I was doing the boundaries course. So I was looking at all these different ways that you might learn about your boundaries. So for example, if you're learning to put a boundary in place with an ex-partner, or with a relationship in a partnership, and you're focusing on that one thing, I'm trying to put my boundaries in place in this relationship. And then you step back and you notice, oh, people are respecting my boundaries in all of the other relationships. And I'm wondering if, as you do that with the wolves, with your dogs, are you noticing your boundaries in other relationships, or are other people noticing your boundaries being stronger, maybe?
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. Well, certainly it makes me be much more present, because I have to be really present. I can't, you know, I have to be really present with them. So that makes me be present always in other relationships. And yeah, I guess, yes, the answer would be yes, because it reassures myself in my place. But not from the ego. It's just, not, this is me, and I want this to be respected. Either you like it or not. It's not about you. It's not personal with you. It's just about me taking care of myself. which is my body and my emotions and my, you know, and my psyche, my everything, you know, my well-being has to do with my boundaries. And it doesn't have to be in a, you know, like with the dog, sometimes you have to shout or just kick them in the ass or whatever. Sometimes you have to, but it's more presence, I think.
Beautiful.
Hello?
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm still here.
We're frozen. Sorry.
You. Have you still got me? Great. So there were other questions, but I feel like you've covered something that, you know, other people won't have covered, and just feels really beautiful and really interesting. And I would love you to now, probably completely off topic, but you always inspire in me this big love feeling. And you always say to me, I love you, you know, and it's this, and you said that about your boundaries, and you want the dogs to love you, you want people to love you. But I've never thought about you wanting love. I've always just felt your love, you know, being handed out in huge, not just handed, but, you know, scooped out in massive measure. Is there anything that you want to say before we finish about love and boundaries?
I think that people, and I can't talk for others, but I feel that it would be similar for other people that are adopted, that because we have, I mean, if you've had a good experience with your adoptive parents, that because you have been shown so much unconditional love, I mean, the deepest unconditional love, that is something that, to me at least, is so precious. Is like the biggest gift one can receive, that I can only give it back. That's maybe what you feel. But for me personally, my intimate relationships, let's say with my partner, yeah, it has a lot to do, I think, with the partner. The thing of doing things for them to love you. I mean, I'm not doing that anymore, but I can see it in the past that I've done it. Like, it's not that I will do anything, because I won't do anything, not anything. I mean, I do have my boundaries, but wanting to this need of wanting to be loved and not being abandoned has been a theme for me in my life. So that has shown me to put my boundaries really clear, and first with myself. I mean, to me, the first boundary is oneself. It's like, because if you don't put boundaries on yourself, then you start doing things that are not good for you, you know? So it's not so much for me having put it boundaries on others, but with myself, and go like, okay, enough of this, you know, stop it, or take care of yourself, or step back, you know, give yourself the time and meditate and look at things in a different way. You know, it's been much more with myself than others. And I think this of giving love is something natural, because I have received so much unconditional love. It's like, I have so much. What can I do with it? Like, give it away, right? Really. And I see that other people that have had this experience that are so grateful that, you know, it comes out natural.
Yeah, gorgeous. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I love how everyone's has been so different, and you can't preempt what's going to come up. It's beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to say goodbye now, and I would love for us to have a catch up, you know, away from a recording as well, because it's always just beautiful to hear your voice. And and see you. So sending you huge love to you and to your land and to your family, and to your wolves. I didn't know about. Thank you, Myriam. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you so much for this time together. I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Well, bye-bye.
Bye.